Hi everybody and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. So I just got done with the Sherman M4 early production and getting ready to pick up where I left off on the M10 tank destroyer, and discovered that for one of the figures that I'm painting up for the M4, I needed some olive drab paint, so I figured I'll run on down to the local big box hobby slash craft store and get a couple of items. Needed some Vallejo model color olive drab, which oddly enough I got a drawer full of Vallejo colors that I use, and I don't have olive drab, so I got that. Then I wanted to try this out because I saw someone else use it to great effect on certain items on a kit that he built, so I thought I'd get that too. And while I'm wandering around, lo and behold, what did I see? Well, I saw this. So, you know, I've mentioned that, and you probably could tell from my current crop of kits, I'm kind of on a Sherman kick because I'm just really digging them. And I saw this. Normally the hobby shop or the store I go into doesn't have a really huge selection. I mean, every once in a while they'll have something that's pretty decent, but you know, it's usually the same stuff all the time. And I saw this and I was like, what? Hobby Boss 148? I didn't even know they made 148 scale kits. So I busted out the old smartphone real quick, got on ScaleMates and looked it up, and I found one review on it, and that's all. I've been looked on eBay, and I've looked on YouTube, and I've looked on just Googled it, and man, nobody's done any reviews on this kit. So, and it came out initially in 2007 as a new tool kit, and then just this year had some new parts added, which I have no idea what they are, but obviously it's parts for this particular version. So I thought, hey, I got to get this thing. So, and the box is amazingly heavy for such a small kit. But anyway, it's the Hobby Boss US M4A3 76 wet tank. 148 scale. The kit number is, where is it? It was there a minute ago. Yeah, 84805. There's one of the schemes right there that one can do. Looks really cool. Looking on the other side, it's even got small photo etch fret, and it looks like mainly periscope and light guards, which that's good enough for me. There's some other really teeny tiny things. So I've taken the plastic off, I've opened the box, but I haven't gone through the contents. So let's take a look and see what's inside here. I'm going to actually do a review of the contents, discuss some of the things I've discovered that are incorrect about the kit or whatever, and give my own opinions on the plastic and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to actually do a build review of the kit. So anyway, let me open it up and we'll take a look. Alright, so let's take a look at the contents. We have the instructions here. Comes with, let's see, it has a parts breakdown here, including on the bottom here, parts that are not used. Just typical instructions. I'm not going to go through the whole shooting match here. There's some things to note, like this right here. Looks like you can use a different engine cover depending on the model. I'm assuming that makes sense. More of the upper hull parts there, attaching the upper hull, lower hull, and then you get into the turret. And there are two turrets that can be built on this kit. It says early turret assembly here. And this one looks like it uses the regular commander's cupola with the vision blocks around it, and then a split loader's hatch. I'll get into more of that whenever I actually look at the parts. But these are the instructions. Not really a whole lot to talk about. And then it shows an illustration of an extra sprue that comes with the kit, and some optional stuff. Then we have the color callouts. The paint on this one is the Gunze Sangyo Mr. Colors, or Aqueous Hobby Color by Gunze Sangyo. So if you're using something else, you'll have to find the equivalent. Alright, quick rundown of the parts. Here is the extra sprue. It's got some nice detail going on here. Turn on my other light, sorry guys. Looks like an M28 haversack with an extra pack on the bottom. M36 musette bag, possibly. M1928 haversack there with the E-tool, and then it's like some kind of a duffel bag. It is stamped on the back, U.S. Army duffel bag, 1/48 scale. So that's kind of a nice addition if you wanted to detail it up a bit. Here are the turret sprues. Now this one here is labeled M4A3 76W wet. So there's that turret there, and then this one is actually labeled M4A1. So they obviously use sprues from both of these versions of the Sherman. And I'll have to do a little bit of studying and a little research and figure out which turret I want to use and which one would be the most accurate on this vehicle. Apparently either one can be used, but I need to kind of figure out which one I want to use. There's also this the Caste transmission cover, one of the barrels there. Here's the other barrel here. In looking closely at them, this barrel looks a little bit nicer. It seems to be molded a little bit better. This one's got some weird lumps in it, but I think it's on portion of the gun that's going to be on the inside of the turret, so it's not really that big a deal. There is a parting seam line on both of them that needs to be cleaned up, but again, this one seems to be a little cleaner, but after I get this one sanded up, we'll see. And that will determine, you know, I'll have to determine which one is the more accurate for what I want to do. Then we have the sprue here, which this one is labeled M4A1 76W, and it has the pressed steel embossed, you know, with like spokes type wheels, and then the flat smooth wheels. It also has the embossed idlers and the spoked, open spoked idlers. Solid, it allows for solid drive sprockets. Here's the two outside edges and the inside portions, and then it's got one of the open cutaway type drive sprocket, but this is the only one in the kit. So obviously if you were building one of the other versions of the Sherman, it would probably come with two of this particular sprue. Then we have bogey parts here. This one is labeled M4A1 76 wet, M4A1, which the kit is M4A3, but I'm sure there's some commonality between the kits. And it may be just mainly the tools and some of the smaller bits of the suspension. It's got some extra, you know, like fuel cans here and here, and then kind of a wooden crate which has really nice texture on the top, a little bit exaggerated for 1/48 scale, but it would be good to paint. And then but it's totally smooth on the sides, which is common with this type of accessory in styrene. The machine guns look pretty good. Actually it looks, earlier in looking at it, it looked kind of funny, but this actually looks really good. Now that I've turned my other light on, the ventilation on this barrel sleeve looks pretty good, but 50 looks nice as well. Nice little, I think this is I think this is the ammo box for the 30 caliber, so it won't matter in my case, but it looks like it's got this gnarly ejector pin mark there. But the other ammo box here, which should be for the 50, that one looks pretty good. So we'll see though when we get into the instructions. More suspension parts. This one is labeled M4A3, which is kind of cool because I actually like the way this one's set up better. On the other bogies, and then like even on 1/35 scale bogies, like in the Tamiya kits, this cast part right here is split right in the middle instead of being seamed in the back. So you have that, and then the return skids that fit on top are actually molded into this, split down the middle as well. So this has a molding part line there, but it should be easy to clean up. And I just like these, you know, molded as separate pieces. And then these are the back portion of the wheels, the smooth and the spoked. So that all looks good. There's casting numbers on the inside there. They're really faint, but they are there, so that should make for some nice weathering. Then there's this part here, which this one is labeled M4A3. This one is labeled M4A1. So more common parts, I'm thinking, but we'll see once construction starts. So it looks like these two are the same, and then these two are the same. So there's some parts that are used in common. It'll just be a matter of figuring out what they are according to the instructions. Then the last large sprue is this one here, the upper hull, obviously, and then the sponson covers for the sides, which are nice. Back plate, the bolt strip. There's two of them. There's this one, and then there's one on one of the other sprues. The other one looks a little cleaner, so hopefully that's the one that's called out for in this kit. But then here's the other Caste transmission housing. Now, in looking at reviews of this kit, well, the only review I could find was by the Perth Military Modeling site. And a person named Terry Ashley did a pretty in-depth review on this kit, not only the contents of the box, but the actual kit construction and a few of the inaccuracies. And those inaccuracies, the most blatant ones, it seems like, are on the hull. Now, in particular, this cover right here is 1 millimeter too far back, which doesn't sound like much, but when you break it down to scale, it's quite a big position out of place. And then the hatches here, the driver and co-driver / bow gunner hatches, are too close together. They should be out a little bit further, the larger gap in here. But you know, in the grand scheme of things, you know, if a person is really concerned with accuracy, that would be a problem. For me, when I get done with it, it'll look like a Sherman, and you know, it won't distract or take away any of the enjoyment of putting together this kit. But those are some things to note. And you know, the weld seams are really nice. And one thing that I really like is this right here is the drain hole for this guard right here for the filler caps. There is a drain hole. Even on 1/35 scale kits, oftentimes those are not present, so that's kind of cool. So that's that. And then the last bit of styrene, last two bits of styrene, the engine cover that I mentioned earlier. It's very nice, well detailed, good mold quality, looks good, and it is specifically for the M4A3. And then the last item is the hull itself, the lower hull, and this is actually labeled 148 M4A1. So hopefully you can see that with my shadows. Yeah. But obviously it's, you know, pretty much the same stuff. Now, one other note that Terry Ashley on the Perth modeling site mentioned were these final drive covers here. There's a locating pin, and then there's the part where it fits over the axle. And if once you get the locating pin in place, as you can see, this flat portion here slopes downward slightly in relation to this flat lower hull portion here. In actuality, it should be lined up like that. This should be parallel with this. So simple fix, you clip off the locating pin, you're good to go. Now, for some people who might miss it, and I might have missed it if I hadn't read that, because I wouldn't really pay that much attention until maybe after I got it together. It will be behind the drive sprocket for the most part. You would see it a little bit, but you know, again, it's not a life or death situation here, but it is a little bit of attention to detail that is nice to catch. So that concludes the plastic. So the only other construction part is this photo etch fret here, M4 Sherman. Obviously it's good for any of them. And it comes with periscope guards, and it comes with the headlight brush guards, the horn brush guard, and the taillight brush guards, as well as the taillight covers, which those are really nice. You know, the detail on those is really good. Hopefully you can see it, but it's got nice, you know, and it should make it kind of fairly easy to paint, I would think. And then chain. Now, photo etch chain just drives me insane, because generally it's just flat. It's got holes punched in it in an outline, and it's just flat. It doesn't look like chain at all. This has some really nice raised and recessed detail, so it looks like links together that are kind of laying as flat as they can. So, you know, I'm kind of pleasantly surprised by that. I normally just can't stand that stuff, but it looks good. So that's all of the parts, and then last we have the decals, or decals, depending on where you're from or how you like to say it. And they are very thin. Don't know who makes them, doesn't say, but they're very thin. They look decent, kind of shiny. Depending on what kit or what version I decide to build, I may or may not use the decals. So let me wrap this up for you. So that is the Hobby Boss US M4A3 76 wet tank. Looks like a nice kit, and I can't wait to get started on it. This is going to be a project I'm going to work on in between some of the other more complex and involved kits I'm working on, just as kind of a break for some relaxation, because I'm just going to build it straight from the box and do it like that. So that's going to end this video, which is the preview of the kit and the contents. So next time I will actually start construction and get rolling on this thing. So as always, if you have any questions or comments, or maybe some experience with this particular kit or whatever, please put them in the comments below, and I will get back to you as quick as I can. So until next time, I will see you all later.